Kia ora, Lara here, and I am bringing you day 13's sketch for Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches. And the sketches this month are all exclusively designed for this challenge, and today it's a sketch I've put together. So I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone's done with this sketch. It's kind of a new thing for creating my own sketches and seeing how they work. So I'm going to be documenting a couple of photos that I have documented in an album I was working on last month, but this is for a different album, so it's in a different kind of sense, or a different documentation of it. And I'm going to use a bit of mixed media here. So I have grabbed a star stencil out, and I'm just mixing some texture paste with a little bit of moon dust glitter gel, and I love this glitter gel and just the way it just gives sparkle to that nice white texture paste. And I'm just sort of smearing that through the different stars on the stencil, and I'm just moving this around and putting it down again. But you saw before where I sort of put the photo one up the top right and one down the bottom left, and so I'm sort of visualizing where the photos are sitting and sort of putting the stars around about to suit. Just using the heat gun to dry it off really quickly because I want to keep going. I'm actually putting this layout together. I've only sort of got tonight, and I'm heading away tomorrow, so wanted to get this done and off to Christy, or get the layout off to Christy, a photo of it. She's doing a feature of I think it's 4 or 5 people who have used this sketch, and will be on her Instagram channel with the 30 days of sketches, series 10. So I've grabbed some white and some gold acrylic gloss spray, and I've just sort of tapped those on to give a little bit more of that scattering. So the photos are of the stars still up in the sky, but the sun is sort of about to make its presence known, and I just wanted to sort of emulate that with the background. So the sketch showed some sort of florals, and I'm using stars instead of florals. So I love how sketches are versatile in that, yes, there might be a floral, yes, there might be other things on the sketch, but you can actually mix it up, make it yours, twist it round, turn it upside down, shrink it, expand it, and do what you want. So I look forward to seeing how other people have done what they want as well. So the story behind these photos, I was taking a very early morning trip through to Christchurch. My husband had broken his leg, and I wasn't really able to sleep, so got up early and started making my way up there, and it all worked out perfectly. I got there sort of with half an hour to have a cup of tea with my sister, who just happened to be up there, before I got a phone call to say that he was in at Canterbury Hospital. So that was pretty good timing, and so I'm pleased I did get up and get going at that stage, rather than just sort of not sleeping and trying to stay in bed. So so that's why the stars are there. That's why I've sort of brought that into this sketch. And again, with sketches, bring in what's in your photos, bring in that story, bring in elements that connect to the story that you are telling with your pages. So sticking those down, I've just grabbed a few different papers. This is from my scrap paper collection, so they're not necessarily part of any specific collection, but now I'm just going to mat the photos as well onto some different pattern papers that I feel will just help give that lift or a little bit of an interest point around each of the photographs. So just doing these by cutting them with scissors by hand. They don't need to be perfect. So the strips up the top and the zip strips and things I did cut out with the trimmer. When you're cutting lines like that, it's always a really good idea to use the trimmer, because you want them straight to line up against each other. But with the photo mats, because it's not something that needs to be precise, I'm going to be roughing up the edges and stuff anyway. There's not really any great point in cutting them with the trimmer. So now I'm going to be putting on a few different embellishments on it just to add a little bit more depth and dimension around it. So I've grabbed some acrylic shapes, some acrylic stars, and some multicoloured shapes. So these shapes over to the left here were available only to VIPs at Close to My Heart. So I did get myself a bit of a collection of those ready to use them, and I've dipped into them for a few different projects, and I'll probably pull out, I think, some of the yellow kind of colours from this. As you can see that I've got one up the top. I wanted to sort of bring out that the sort of the orangey yellows of the sun starting to create the different colours on the water on that drive on the way through. It was absolutely stunning as a trip. Just the skies and the colours and things, it was quite beautiful, even though I was not necessarily the most positive, although I did know that my husband was fine, so it was okay. So it was just one of those things where it was just amazing seeing this gorgeous creation around me as I made my way through the sort of the middle of the South Island, I guess, of New Zealand. So now I'm going to add in some title, and I was going to use the chipboard shapes, the black ones that are there, but I decided I'm going to use the stamp. This is kind of a whimsical stamp. It's quite gorgeous. Just flipped over my Versamat because it's got a really good surface for stamping on the back. Each of the Close to My Heart stamps do come with this really nice mat that you can pop underneath, but because I was sort of doing it on a bigger surface, I wanted that set up there. So I also went ahead and added the journaling as well as that title off screen, and now I'm sticking down my photos. So I love this part when it all sort of really starts coming together. Got those main components of the photos and the journaling and the title, and it's now sort of just about finishing it off and making it pretty. So I'm going to be adding in all of those shapes that I'd placed earlier using the liquid, some liquid glass. Because they're acrylic, it just needs that little bit more. Tombow white would have worked as well, but the liquid glass is right there, and I really like how it might, if it squeezes out the side a little bit, it's a little bit shiny. I do find that sometimes the Tombow, the green lid or the white glue, can sort of be a little bit tacky, and that's part of the beauty of it as well, because it can be repositionable. So if you let it dry, it can work kind of like a post-it note, which is kind of cool for different uses, but if you use it while it's wet, it sticks permanently. So I've got another sort of set of chipboard stars that I'm using here as well, and just sort of placing these around. I do quite like how this black, it's kind of a chalkboard paper, the base paper I've used, so that the black chipboard does really stand out when I'm popping those different bits and pieces on there. This video is a little bit longer than normal. I just couldn't really cut it down too much smaller or too much shorter. I try and keep them under 10 minutes. So this will be linked to a playlist of the series 10 of Christy's Beautiful Life of Sketches, and so check out the playlist to see both how other people have used this sketch as well as all of the other sketches this month. And if you haven't already, head to the Facebook group, which will be linked below, and join up. Chris, this is the 10th lot of 30 days of sketches. So on there you can find 300 sketches ready for creating with. So lots of inspiration and ideas too, because lots of people have been documenting with those sketches. And Christy does a fantastic job of sort of coordinating it all and putting it all together. And it's quite exciting that this month, as I said at the start, the sketches are all exclusively designed for this series. In the past, the people choosing the sketches have chosen those that are freely available on the internet. But with people wanting more recognition for their sketches, or the sketches might have been designed for a shop or for something like that, it's sort of become more challenging to use things that you sort of would think would be freely available on the internet, but people can be precious about what they create and what they've got, and so respecting that was part of the decision to go exclusively design sketches for this particular challenge. So it's been great to see some different sketches and different designs, and to also create with some of these as well. So the layout is pretty much done, but it felt like it wasn't quite right. It needed a little bit more. So I'm just going along and adding a little bit of sort of doodling with my white gel pen, just to, I don't know, it just felt like it wasn't quite right. So I'm going to add this along the top and the bottom, just in the top, in these, between these two layers. I'm not sure why I chose this shape, but just putting that in there. And I'm also going to grab a black pen and outline the papers. So just finishing, and I'm going back and adding a little dot in each of these little shapes as well. It's something I used to do quite a bit on layouts in the past, so it's quite fun bringing back some of those things that I've done before and are worth dipping into or revisiting again. So it does take a little bit of time, and perhaps this would have been a great place to cut the video a little bit shorter, but at least you get to hear a little bit more of my rambling as I put this together. So finishing off that last little stretch in there, and happy with how that looks. So now it is time to grab the black pen, and I'm just going to outline around this paper. It just lifts it, it gives it a little bit more, it defines it or separates it from the background of the black paper and stuff like that. Another way to have done that separation, and I'm sort of doing faux stitching rather than straight lines, would be to ink up the edges of the paper or something like that. But I just really liked the double-pronged effect with those sort of white doodling bits, and then the stitching look around the edge as well. So here are some close-ups. Remember to check out the playlist below and check out what other people have done, and thanks heaps for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you've lasted all the way to the end, I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss any more of my pages. Thanks for watching.